Anything else? Storm?
Storm.
Storm? Storm are the Storm, the same Storm as last year. They
Pretty much.
have picked up Sean Blaw. They've lost Olam in return to the Tigers. Tarek Sims is gone. Jaden Nikarima is gone. And Tom Eisenhuth also out. They've bunked down on lots. They've got a trial this week against the Dogs, and then they've got Newcastle the week after. How's their draw look?
6 games against the top 4. 3 games against the bottom 3. So they're it's one of the harder ones realistically because they don't get a lot of games against those guys at the bottom, and they're always going to, those big blockbuster games. They like to put the top 4 against each other, generally 2 or 3, at least once, but twice a season a lot of the time. So 2 5-day turnarounds, which is more than the majority. So yeah, for mine, probably one of the I'd say probably top 6 tough draws in the comp. So.
All right, their best 17 looks something like this. Pappenhausen, Coates, Smith, Meaney, Warbrick, Munster, Hughes, Kamakamika, Grant, who's the new club captain, Christian Walsh, Katoa, Nelson, Asafa Solomona, King at 13. 14 is, I've got Garlic in, but obviously Fayalongo or Wishart or someone similar could also fill that spot. 15, Blaw, Luario at 16, and McDonald 17. Very much, as I said, what you see is what you get, but for those following along at home, what does that actually mean, Barn?
Very system-based team. Like to tick off all the 1%ers. They basically go through the motions a lot of the time, and it takes some of their star players to get them out of that robotic nature of playing through the middle of the field, and then a block play for a block play out the outside edges, which is what you do see a lot of coming out of Melbourne. The thing is, they do it as good as anybody else. So when they do that for 60% of the game, it gets them into good position, gets them in and around the right parts of the field, and then you get the likes of Jerome Hughes with his short kicking game and short passing, Munster with his running game and footwork, and then you throw in the likes of Pappenhausen and Harry Grant. Harry Grant's got one of the better selective passing games in the competition. He seems to know when to pick out the right person at the right time. Another one with very good service off the ground. Right up there as one of the best in the competition, and a fantastic running game. So Harry Grant has been the best hooker for a couple of years, or close enough to it, and that's not going to change anytime soon. Probably the best defensive hooker in the comp. And then you throw in the likes of Pappenhausen with fantastic speed and footwork, as long as his legs are attached, as we like to say.
Steam's coming out of the ears, you're thinking something.
No, I'm not. No.
A few question marks of mine around some of the bit players that they've
Braley
got
boys
in the squad. Centres may be a little bit of an issue this year, as well as some of those guys that they're going to push into that forward rotation. But Melbourne just generally don't have too many issues. And if they do, they work them out pretty quickly.
Any thoughts, Gregory, real quickly?
Yeah, decent kicking game, very good running game, probably one of the better running games in the competition, with the likes of Munster, Pappenhausen, Harry Grant, and very very intelligent spine, which gets them a long way to winning games.
What's the best spine in the comp, isn't it?
They're all fit, yeah, absolutely.
But by a distance these days, if you're going all 4.
Yeah, as a combo, yeah.
They haven't won 3 comps in a row, though, I know.
No,
I know.
no.
Don't shout. It's all right. But what do you think?
For me, I've really not gone into a deep dive on Melbourne for this, because the basic fact of the matter is that they win. Melbourne, every year they're missing these players are old, it doesn't matter. They find a way to be there when they shouldn't be. They find a way to be top 4.
You right?
Yeah, we never did the Dolphins.
We'll get there. It's all right. It's okay. Fuck, it's angry. 17 teams. It's all right.
They could have the best squad in the comp. They could have the worst, and they'll still find a way to be in and around that top 4 and challenging for a premiership every year.
When I went through the squad and did all my notes and everything else, all my notes, they in a comp where no one, I don't think any team in the comp's better. No one's bought amazingly. No one's changed.
I think they've all tightened up, though. I think most squads are probably as good, if not slightly better. And
yes,
then
but
nobody's
in a comp where,
massive
say,
jumps. Yeah.
comp where Penrith again are going to lose 2 stars. They just are there, and you think, oh, they don't have a forward pack. And you do that, you put it again, you go, they've got a pretty good forward pack. Well, and they missed Walsh all last year, except for the last few games. Kamakamika had issues, came back, looked fine. Probably needs to step up. Probably needs to really stamp
Absolutely.
himself. But then you got Katoa. Nelson had almost his best year last year. He was fantastic. Could play, can play front row as well if he's needed. But I assume they're going to leave him on edge just to terrorise some poor halves.
He is a mountain of a man.
And King became just
Liero
Mr.
was
Workhorse, and then Liero and McDonald both filled in, and Sean Bloor. If anyone's going to get the best out of him, if he
Bellamy.
stays fit, it's going to be Bellamy. So it becomes all of a sudden, that's not a bad forward back. And then Meaney obviously was outstanding. Has, I wouldn't say grown a leg, but has reached his potential going there. Now he's going to be a centre. Remus Smith can beat people with footwork. They've got Servais up their sleeve as well if they need him. It just all looks good to me. I just think
They had a lot of injury last year too, especially in the outside.
100%.
backs.
Well, and then 2 years ago, Ryan Papenhuyzen was a complete freak, like a freak. And they reckon he's nearly back. And if he's nearly back, well, he's nearly a freak. So,
Until he injures himself again.
I'm just going to say, I'm just showing the only weakness they had, there was times where they just got ripped apart in those edges. Unfortunately, Olam was part of that, as was Servais/Smith. So there are gaps, and you can score points to get Melbourne. And they're by no means a brick wall. But
you have to stay
if
in
they're
the fight with
bossing,
them.
that's right. If they're bossing, and all of a sudden you're chasing 20, well, it doesn't matter, does it? Or they know if they get down there, Harry Grant's going to produce something, or Hughes going to produce something.
Even if it's close, they're going to keep coming.
Exactly.
Just to the last minute.
And then and to my point, an hour and a half ago, that whole spine came off that World Cup and came off that Origin and came off. So if they've all had a freshen up and a break, well, Harry was off the bench for the first to start the year.
Yep.
And he missed a bunch of games. Munster wasn't quite right. Hughes had some injuries along the way. If they're fit and firing, it's a scary team, scary good team.
Munster definitely didn't have his best year last year, and he was still right up there.
Yeah, but with Munster, he might touch a ball 3 times and he's put on 12 points. And
His worst is still top couple of the comp.
Yeah. And he's a typical guy that he doesn't know what he's doing. So how does anyone else know? Anything else you can talk about this team? What is it?
The only thing that will let them down maybe is that a little bit of consistency out of guys like your Munsters, Papenhuyzen, its fitness, and a couple of those fringe guys that they've got. Their bench rotation did let them down at times last year. Was an issue that
and got very thin to the point where they were playing 2 or 3 hookers off the bench. They're playing Nick Garlicks and Wisharts off the bench. Yeah.
And that little bit of momentum that they lose during those times can see teams come back and grab those 2 tries that they need, and it becomes a different game. So, still going to be a threat to just about everyone they play.
It's going to be terrifying if Papenhuyzen gets himself injured again and Fa'alongo comes in and is
He's
what
better.
everybody thinks he is. Because he's about 30 kilos heavier than Pappy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's about a foot taller.
He could probably
and
beat
just-
him over 100 metres.
Yeah.
actually.
close to
Yeah.
it.
But there is
Yeah.
no shortage of just, this guy, cool, one of the best in the comp, coming out of Melbourne.
Yeah.
And then those bit players that are barely first grade standard get under Bellamy and okay, we can do this now.
Yeah. It's incredible just what good systems do. The best teams in the comp have good systems, and this is the best system in the comp.
It's the best
Gatekeepers
and
of the
has
top
been.
4, as you like to say. I think.
I'll say so. Yeah, 3rd or 4th. They'll be, if you can beat Melbourne, you make top 4. If you can't, they'll probably put a
Space
beating on you.
1 week, yeah.
And that's
Like my trip to Melbourne last year.
a very good way to finish that summation.